loved going back to Hogwarts. Of course I did. It looks very familiar to anyone who saw the Potter movies, but obviously the teaching staff are different.
Those names, the stories, the histories that sit in the back of our mind from the Potter series begin to weave their way into beasts.
I have some questions for you, Dumbledore.
And to actually be shooting here at Laycock, where 3 of the films were shot, it's quite amazing, really. When I walked on and saw all the trunks and Hogwarts stickers and things like that, it's pretty amazing.
It's like the ultimate childhood fantasy to play witches and wizards.
But it was slightly odd out-of-body experience because I've watched with everyone else those classes, and suddenly to be in it, you're in there doing it, but then you look back as yourself and realise how special it was. Go ahead, Newt.
Ridiculous. Hey, how's that?
I felt quite sentimental going back to Hogwarts.
One of my favourite things about the new Fantastic Beasts film is you get to meet a few new creatures.
My favourite creature down in Newt's basement is the Kelpie. The only way to tame it is to get a bridle on it. So we watch Newt taming the Kelpie.
There's a Zulu, who's a Chinese creature who's pretty dumbfounding and can travel 1,000 miles in a day.
It really does take a Newt Scamander to contain and look after that beast. You see a couple of the old favourites.
Pickett's back. I have a soft spot for him. He's just so small and twig-like and sweet.
Thank you, the Niffler.
People will be glad to hear that the Niffler has had babies.
There's now an entire family of scene stealers. The Nifflers cause a bit of havoc for Newt, but also help in so many ways. What I love about Newt is he's true to himself. Newt has such empathy to anyone that is hurt. It's almost like he's a sort of magnet for damaged people and damaged creatures.
Newt, you never met a monster you couldn't love.
An address.
What's that?
A safe house in Paris.
Why would I need a safe house in Paris?
Should things at some point go terribly wrong, it's good to have a place to go. You know, for a cup of tea.
My brothers, my sisters, the clock is ticking faster. My dream, we who live for truth, for love. The moment has come to take our rightful place in the world where we wizards were free. Join me or die.
The wizarding and non-wizarding worlds have been at peace for over a century. Grindelwald wants to see that peace destroyed.
You want me to hunt him down? To kill him? Dumbledore, why can't you go?
I cannot move against Grindelwald. It has to be you.
You don't suffer from motion sickness, do you?
I don't do well on boats.
You'll be fine.
Do you know why I admire you, Newt? You do not seek power. You simply ask, is the thing right? The time's coming when you're gonna have to pick a side.
No, I don't do sides.
What are you gonna do?
I'll think of something.
Newt, you never met a monster you couldn't love.
Let's take him.
That's her brother?
I think that might have been the best moment of my life.
Grindelwald's been in jail in New York for a few months. The decision is made to move him back to Europe, where he has to answer for the crimes that he has committed, and inevitably he escapes. Credence survives. And for Credence, the big question now is,
I want to know who I am. path has been laid, and he is following it. The trail that will lead him to me.
The reason everyone goes to Paris, really, is Credence.
Credence may not know who he is yet, but he needs to be found. And I rather hope you might be the one to find him. Dumbledore has to maneuver to try and stop Grindelwald's rise.
Dumbledore.
There is a new threat as Grindelwald mobilizes.
He's a master manipulator, and that is why he is so dangerous.
We're heading toward war. Everyone's choosing sides.
Things are becoming much more dark and complicated, and people's allegiances are now being exposed.
We must rise up and take our rightful place in the world.
We're now getting into the meat of the story, and everything gets darker and more intricate. Whatever you think you know at the end of the movie might not be the case.
Having the opportunity to go back and see what made the man that we all loved become who he was is a really rare and a really extraordinary experience.
So when I met Jude, I basically told him everything about Dumbledore that I've ever known, because without that knowledge, Jude is playing someone who appears to be playing games with people's lives, and that's not who Dumbledore is.
What became apparent very early on was, like any man or any human, one is not the same at 45 as, say, 145.
In this movie, he's slightly mysterious, and we see him through the eyes of Newt Scamander.
One of my favourite things about the new film is the beginning of the exploration into Newt and Dumbledore's relationship.
Dumbledore recognised the brilliance in Newt and the good heart.
Very few people, if any, ever call Dumbledore on his Dumbledorishness. In other words, his withholding of information.
Well, that's all very well, Dumbledore, but forgive me for asking, why can't you go?
He has this dark past in which he flirted with Grindelwald's ideology. The relationship between Grindelwald and Dumbledore is key to making Dumbledore Dumbledore.
You and Grindelwald were as close as brothers.
Oh, we were closer than brothers.
The teenager received a wound from which Dumbledore never recovered. Never recovered.
I am positive that there was a mutual respect of one another's abilities, and I'm sure, especially with Grindelwald, there a jealousy, also maybe a bitterness for having such love and respect.
I think he feels he can rectify wrongs that he's been a part of creating.
So he's trying to advise people, don't be brutal to his supporters, you are playing into his hands. No one's listening. As often happens with Dumbledore, no one's listening.
Theseus, if Grindelwald calls a rally, don't try and break it up.
But however bleak things get, Dumbledore's always got that slightly mischievous side. I think it's going to surprise people, and he's done an amazing job.
He has an extraordinary wiseness, but a wry humour to him.
I am very excited to now weave that story and show us how he got there.